Mikel Arteta really wants to sign Kai Havertz for Arsenal. But why? He hardly scores goals. Is he number 9? Is he number 10? Nobody knows. He did score a Champions League winning goal, so he must be good. But what will he bring to Arsenal if they sign him? Well, we know Havertz is kind of a striker because he plays up top as a number 9 for Chelsea quite a lot. But he plays as number 9 for Chelsea because they don't really have any other options. And Havertz was best when he was at Bayer Leverkusen when he played behind the forward or just alongside one in a role called a second striker. We don't really see many of those anymore because teams tend not to play 4-4-2. If you play as 4-4-2, you can have one player here, one player playing off to stop him, 2 wingers, and that's kind of what you get. And then you can float in around and in behind the striker and make things happen. It's kind of what the number 10 became when you played just behind them. But again, a lot of teams don't play just this straight 4-2-3-1, especially Chelsea, who play him as a number 9. Lots of managers don't really know exactly what he is best at, whether it's a 9 or a 10, including his ex-manager Thomas Tuchel, who has said he's a unique player. He's very comfortable in the box, he's very comfortable in high positions, he's very good at offensive headers, he has good timing to arrive in the box, good finishing, good composure in the box, around the box, so between a 9 and a 10. So he's like a 9.5, like we say, like a second striker. So at Arsenal, it makes sense if he came into this position here and replaced Gabriel Jesus, and that would mean he can then drop back, which allows runners to go on beyond him, or the wingers to take up central space when they attack. Central spaces here, especially in the final third. And he's great at link-up play in this sort of area, and we can see what kind of player he is from his statistics. Because Havertz is a really clever player, like he's a good tactical player, so what you get from him is not a huge amount of goals for a forward. This is his FB ref statistics. And you can see none of this is very good for what you want from a striker. Someone like Erling Haaland would be all greens right at the top here. Again, assists, not hugely creative here, but maybe that's because Chelsea weren't playing quite so well over the last 365 days. But what you do get is really progressive passes, carries, and a lot of work off the ball. He's great out of possession, which is something really important to Mikel Arteta, particularly from his forwards. And a lot of what he does best, you can't really measure. You can see that he does lots of work off the ball. We know he knows how to press and how to help with that leading the line, but what he does really well is ghosts into space. He doesn't often occupy a position, he floats into it at the right time, and that's why his touch maps often look definitely not like a striker. So for example, the last game of last season against Newcastle, in 2022-23 obviously, Havertz started as the number 9 in this game for Chelsea, Frank Lampard's Chelsea, and you see lots of his touches are in the middle of the pitch, he drifts out wide, he's just kind of on the outskirts of it. And you go to the Champions League final in 21-22 when he scored the winning goal, he played as one of 2 10s off of Timo Werner, who's the number 9 there. And you see he plays mostly in the right space, but when he's got license to drift around and float about, that's when he's most effective. He's great in games like this. There was a game against Borussia Dortmund this season where he was absolutely phenomenal, and again, he was playing more as a player who can drift into spaces rather than being a focal point as a number 9. So that's where he tends to move into positions to be really effective. And even though we know he's not really a striker, he does get into lots of great goal-scoring positions because his movement is excellent and his timing is brilliant. So what you see here is his non-penalty shots for Chelsea in the Premier League from the 22-23 season. Really, really good positions to receive the ball. So imagine cutbacks coming from here to him. This is where you want Havertz to be in an Arsenal team. That's what he can do. Float into the space with great timing and finish. The only problem is his finishing isn't great because he's not really a striker. And so his XG is often over what his actual goal returns are. This season, for example, he's scored 7 goals from an XG of 11.6. So that's obviously a clear underperformance and not very good. And it tends to be throughout his career, especially in England, that he's slightly underperforms what he maybe should, whether in the Premier League or the Champions League. But when you consider the goals he does score, for example, the Champions League winning one for Chelsea against Manchester City, that was his only goal in the Champions League that year. Pretty important. So that's what you get as a big game player who can turn it on when he needs to. But he has kind of underperformed for Chelsea. He's clearly not a number 9. So why does Arteta want him so much? Why is he going to spend all the money on a player that hasn't lit up the Premier League? Well, first of all, for a long time, it looked like Havertz was going to be one of the best young players in the entire world. He scored 17 goals in a season for Bayer Leverkusen, followed up with 12 goals the following season. Then he went to Chelsea, where it hasn't exactly been perfect for him, but he's still a really big game player. Still starts up front for Germany. He's a very important international level, Champions League level footballer. So he's a really good footballer, makes your squad better. When you put a player like this into your squad, instantly the squad is improved. The first 11 can be improved as well. But the problem they might have is Gabriel Jesus is the first starting striker in this position. But Arteta doesn't just need first 11 players, he needs players who are in the squad who are as good as anyone else in the first 11 to make the team better. And you can also do things with this system and change it and add things to it, as most managers will have to do. Jurgen Klopp's had to do it, Guardiola's had to do it quite a lot. What you can do instead is play him alongside Gabriel Jesus. Now that's obviously obviously too many players. We've got to take one out. Let's take out Xhaka, put him over here. We know that Arteta worked under Guardiola and shares a lot of similar tactical ideals. Well, there's a thing you can do here which might be quite cool. Now, out of possession, that might look like the 4-4-2 that Man City have played an awful lot. So you show the ball wide with a front two that lead the press. Havertz and Jesus, brilliant out of possession, so that'll really help high up the pitch especially. But then what you can also do in possession is change to a different way of building out from the back to help you. So you've got these 3 centre-backs here in a row. So what if you push Gabriel wide, Saliba here, Ben White to form your back 3? Then what you can do is you have Thomas Partey, say, and Zinchenko. He inverts to form your 2, very much like Man City. You got 2 wingers to go wide. And then what you do is you drop in Havertz behind Jesus with Odegaard here, and you create a box midfield here, which can help outnumber a midfield 3 you're playing against. It means you can move the ball better throughout the lines to get up the pitch. And you've got Havertz who can then arrive in the box late to try and finish off the chances. So Jesus can work in the pendulum like him. He can drop deep, Havertz can go forward, and then you might get more attacking chances up top. And that's just one example of a tactical change you might see from Arsenal going forward this season, just trying to develop things. If you have Havertz there, he gives you loads of options. The real reason that Arteta wants him is because he's suddenly available. He's a magic footballer, he really is, and he can do all the sorts of things that Arteta wants him to do. It works for Arteta's tactical ideals particularly, but it also suits the squad that he's building, because Kai Havertz is only 24 years old and about to come into his peak. This is what Arsenal's squad looks like here. You want them to be in this peak era here when you want to try and win things. They've got a whole young squad coming into that exact age now. It's all part of Arteta's squad building and planning. It makes absolute sense. And although, yes, he misses chances, he's not a number 9, if anyone can get a tune out of this player, it would be Mikel Arteta, who seems to know exactly how to use false 9s and why he wants to use them. Therefore, he gets the most out of a player like Kai Havertz. And that's why Mikel Arteta really wants to sign Kai Havertz.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.